All right, so get ready because today we are going deep on American Curl Cats. You wanted to learn more about this breed, and, well, let me tell you, there is a lot more to these cats than just their crazy curled ears. We've got this article from Daily Paws all ready to go, and wow, just from reading through this, I gotta say, some of this stuff is pretty amazing. And to help us break it all down, we've got our cat expert here. Thanks for joining me. Now, I've got to start by asking about their origin story. It's pretty wild, right?
It really is. It's like, one of those stories you just wouldn't believe if it wasn't, like, actually true. So back in 1981, totally normal couple in California, they find a pair of stray kittens on their porch, and they've got these curled ears. Nobody had, like, ever seen anything like it.
So that's how it all started, huh?
Yeah.
Two random kittens with funky ears just show up. It's crazy to think that a whole breed came from, like, one random encounter.
It really is. But yeah, that mama cat, Shulamith, she ended up being like the foundation of the whole American curl breed. Every American curl you see today, it's descended from her. And what's really interesting is that the gene for curled ears, it's dominant. So even if an American curl, mates with a straight-eared cat, there's still a good chance those kittens are going to have those, signature curls.
So it wasn't like some planned breeding program or anything. It was just like totally random luck. And now we have this whole breed with ears that, I don't know, kind of look like they're always surprised.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just about how they look either. I mean, the ears are actually like structured differently too. So the bottom 2/3, they've got this hard cartilage. Most cats don't have that. That's what makes them curl. But it also means they're, a little more fragile, a little more prone to damage.
Oh, okay. So that's definitely something potential owners need to be aware of. I mean, makes sense that those ears need like some extra TLC. Speaking of TLC, the article mentions that American curls need their ears cleaned pretty regularly, to prevent infections and stuff. But how do you actually get a cat to cooperate with that? I mean, I feel like that's got to be tough.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Most cats, they're not huge fans of having their ears messed with, but the key is to start like really early, make it a positive experience for them. So when they're kittens, just start by touching and gently petting their ears, just getting them used to the sensation. And then you can like gradually introduce the ear cleaning solution and cotton balls and stuff.
So like desensitize them, kind of.
Yeah.
From when they're young.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And of course, lots of positive reinforcement. I bet some treats wouldn't hurt either.
Right. Yeah, make it a good experience, and eventually they'll like at least learn to tolerate it, maybe even enjoy it. Who knows?
Okay, so we've covered the origin story and the famous ears, but what about the rest of them? Like, what does an American curl actually look like?
Well, picture this. So they've got this modified wedge-shaped head. It's kind of like, a triangle, but with rounded edges. And they have these big, round, expressive eyes. They just draw you in. Their body is what they call semi-foreign in the, cat fancy world, which basically means it's not super long or super compact, kind of in between.
So not your typical, like, long Siamese or, stocky Persian. They've got their own thing going on. What about colors and patterns? Are they all just, like, solid black or white, like those first two kittens?
Oh, no. They come in like every color and pattern you can think of. Solids, tabbies, calicos. I mean, there's like an American curl for everyone. And, they can be short hair or long hair.
Wow, so there really is a ton of variety. So we've got these unique ears, we've got all these colors and patterns, but what about their personality? Like, what's it actually like to, live with an American curl?
Well, if you're looking for like a couch potato cat, this is definitely not the breed for you. American curls, they're known for being super playful and energetic. They call them the Peter Pans of the cat world because they like keep that kitten energy even when they're adults.
So they're like the furry version of that friend who's always like down for an adventure,
Yeah.
always ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. Always ready to play, explore, maybe get into a little trouble. But don't let that fool you. They're also super affectionate. Like, they love to cuddle, too.
Oh, so they've got that on-off switch, huh?
Yeah.
Full speed ahead 1 minute and then cuddle buddies the next.
Yeah.
I think a lot of cat owners would like really appreciate that.
Oh, for sure. It's like the best of both worlds, And they're known for being pretty adaptable, too.
Adaptable. Like how, like they adjust well to different living situations and, families, other pets, that kind of thing.
Yeah, all of that. Like, they tend to get along well with kids and other cats, even dogs, if the dogs are like, cat friendly. And they don't need a ton of space. They can be totally happy in an apartment as long as they've got enough room to like, play and climb.
So they're not just good for like active singles or couples. They can fit into a family setting too. That's awesome. But let's talk more about like what makes their playfulness unique, right? I mean, lots of cats are playful, but what sets the American Curl apart?
Well, they're like really interactive with their owners. They love to play fetch, chase toys. They can even learn tricks. It's almost like having a little dog, but in, a cat's body.
Wait, hold up. Cats learning tricks. I thought that was like a dog thing.
Not with American curls. They're really smart and they love to please. So with a little, patience and positive reinforcement, you can teach them all sorts of stuff.
Okay, now I'm really interested. Like, what kind of tricks are we talking about here?
Oh, think shaking paws, high fives, even fetching specific toys. It's all about like tapping into their natural intelligence and playfulness.
This is totally changing my whole idea of what cats can do. So they're energetic, they're affectionate, they can learn tricks like dogs. It's like they took all the good parts of a pet and just like rolled them all into one cute curled-eared package.
Uh-huh. That's one way to put it. They really are like incredibly well-rounded cats.
Yeah, this is all so cool. I'm already hooked. We've definitely covered a lot here, but I can tell there's like still so much more to talk about with these cats.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've just scratched the surface. There are so many, fun facts and care tips and things about the American curl that we haven't even gotten to yet.
Well, don't worry, we're not going anywhere. We'll be back in just a minute to keep digging deeper into the world of American curls, so stay tuned.
So welcome back to our deep dive all about American curls. And before we went off on that whole thing about training them to do tricks, we were talking about how adaptable they are.
Oh, right. I'm really starting to see, like, why people love this breed so much. It seems like they've got a really good mix of, being playful but also affectionate.
No.
Plus, you're saying they can fit in with all sorts of different families and living situations.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. But what about, like, taking care of them? Grooming and stuff. I mean, those curled ears, those have got to be a little trickier to keep clean, right? Than, like, regular cat ears, I mean.
Yeah, that's a good point. Their ears, they are definitely more prone to getting like wax and stuff built up in there just because of that shape. So yeah, cleaning them regularly, that's super important for preventing infections.
So you mentioned starting early, like when they're kittens,
Mm-hmm.
and using positive reinforcement. But what about the, like, actual cleaning? What's the best way to, to do it with those delicate ears?
Well, first of all, you want to ditch the cotton swabs. Those can actually like push the wax further down into the ear canal, which can make things even worse.
Oh, wow. I never knew that.
Eh,
So what do you use instead?
just a regular ear cleaning solution, one that's safe for cats. Your vet can recommend one. And then just some cotton balls. Or you can use gauze pads too. And you just like gently wipe away any dirt or wax you can see, but you don't want to go too deep into the ear canal.
Gotcha. So just be super gentle, basically.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the rest of their grooming, though? Do they need any special brushes or anything because of their curly fur?
Not really, no. Whether they've got the short hair or the long hair, just a regular brushing, like a couple times a week, that should be enough to keep their coat nice and healthy. They do shed, though, moderately, like most cats. So
Right.
regular brushing, that also helps with, keeping the cat hair tumbleweeds under control.
Okay, good to know.
Or-
Less vacuuming is always a plus in my book. But let's switch gears a bit here. Let's talk about their lifespan. How long do American curls usually live for?
Somewhere between 12 to 16 years, typically, which is, pretty average for most cats.
Okay, so they'll be with you for a good long time. That's good to know. But are there any, like, health issues that are common with American curls? Besides the ear infections, I mean.
Well, for the most part, they're actually a pretty healthy breed. It's because of, their diverse genetic background. But like all cats, there are certain things they can be prone to. One to watch out for is progressive retinal atrophy. It's called PRA.
PRA, what is that exactly?
It's an eye disease, and it gets worse over time, and it can eventually lead to, like, blindness.
Oh, okay. So that's pretty serious. Are there any, like, early warning signs that people should look out for?
Yeah, so if you notice your cat, like, having trouble seeing in low light, or if they're bumping into things, or if their pupils are really dilated, those could be some early signs. If you see any of that, definitely take them to the vet for a checkup.
So regular vet checkups are definitely a must.
Yeah.
Especially as they get older. But what about, like, preventative care? Is there anything people can do to, like, help their American curls stay healthy and avoid those kinds of issues?
Yeah, definitely. A good diet, regular exercise, keeping them at a healthy weight, all that stuff is super important. And don't forget about, like, keeping them mentally stimulated.
Right, because they are really smart cats. So just like us, they need to, like, keep their brains active.
Right, exactly. So, give them puzzle toys, play with them, interact with them, all those things help.
So it's not just about, physical health, but also their mental well-being.
Yeah.
Really good point. Now, I'm curious about like their history as a breed. You mentioned the American Curl is a fairly new breed, right? So how did they go from those two stray kittens in California to becoming like an officially recognized breed?
Well, after those first kittens were found, breeders got super interested in, those ears. They realized that the gene for the curl, it was dominant, so they started, breeding the kittens specifically to see if they could like establish a new breed.
Wow, so those two random kittens really did start it all. That's wild. But what about those early breeding programs? Were there any like challenges or controversies they had to deal with?
One of the big concerns early on was whether those curled ears like actually caused any health problems for the cats. I mean, we talked about how their ears are like structured differently.
Right, with that hard cartilage.
Yeah, exactly. So there was definitely like some worry that the curl might make them more likely to get ear infections or like, other ear problems. But it turns out those fears were mostly unfounded.
So all those years of careful breeding, it basically proved that the curled ears are more of a cool look than a health risk.
Pretty much, yeah. Of course, keeping their ears clean is still super important, like we talked about before. But the curl itself, it doesn't seem to cause any major problems.
That's good to hear. Seems like the breeders were really careful to make sure, that the breed was healthy and well established.
Yeah.
But what about like getting recognized by the cat fancy world?
Mm.
How do they go from being like kind of unknown to, earning a place in the CFA, the Cat Fanciers Association?
Well, it was actually pretty quick. Only 12 years after those first kittens were found, the American Curl became a champion breed with the CFA. That was back in 1993.
Wow, 12 years. That is fast. What do you think helped them gain acceptance so quickly?
I think it was like a few things. Obviously, those ears, they're super unique, right? They definitely catch your eye. They're different from any other cat out there.
Yeah, they definitely stand out.
But it wasn't just the looks, their personality, being so playful and affectionate. That was a big part of it, too.
And as we've learned, they're also really smart and adaptable.
Yeah.
So it really seems like they've got it all. But okay, let's go back to those ears for a sec. We talked about, how they're different and prone to wax buildup, but is there anything else about their ears, any other fun facts that we haven't covered yet?
Oh, actually, yeah. Did you know that their ears are actually still like changing and developing even after they're born?
Wait, seriously? So it's not like they're born with those curls and that's it?
Nope. The curl, it can actually change a lot in the first few years of their life.
So like a kitten with, loose curls might end up with really tight curls when it's an adult, or the other way around.
Exactly. That's one of the things that makes this breed so unique. You never really know what those ears are going to do.
That's so cool. So even within the same litter, you could have kittens with totally different degrees of curl.
Yep, absolutely. And the curl, it can even change a bit with like the seasons or as the cat gets older. It's all part of their, charm.
Wow, that's wild. It's like their ears have like a mind of their own. But speaking of those CFA standards, where the ears have to curl back a certain amount for show cats, why is that a thing? Is it just about, how it looks, or is there like a practical reason for those guidelines?
It's kind of both, actually. The CFA standards, they're partly about like keeping the breed looking unique. Making sure that American curls still have those really distinctive curled ears that make them stand out from other breeds.
So like preserving the breed's, I don't know, identity in a way?
Exactly. But there is a practical side to it too, like how much the ears curl back, that can actually affect how healthy the ears are.
Really? How so?
Well, if the ears curl back too much, more than 180 degrees, that can block airflow and make them like way more likely to get infections. But on the other hand, if they don't curl back enough, less than 90 degrees, they're more likely to, get injured.
So those CFA standards, they're not just like random rules. They're actually based on, what's best for the cat's health.
Yep, that's right. It's all about finding that sweet spot where, like, the breed keeps its unique look, but the cats are also, healthy and happy.
That makes a lot of sense.
Uh.
It seems like the CFA really put a lot of thought into those standards.
Yeah.
But okay, let's move on from ears for a bit and talk about like, the thing that everyone wants to know about, their personality.
Yeah. Their personality is definitely like one of their best qualities. They're playful, affectionate, and super social.
We've heard that whole Peter Pan of the cat world thing a few times now. But what does that actually mean, like in terms of how they behave? Is it just that they're really energetic, or is there like more to it than that?
Well, the energy is definitely a big part of it. They're like known for staying playful and active even as they get older. They love chasing toys, climbing, exploring, getting into trouble, you name it.
So they're definitely not the kind of cat that just wants to, like, sleep all day.
No way. They need a lot of, both mental and physical stimulation to be happy. But it's not just about the energy, it's that they keep that like kitten-like sense of wonder and curiosity.
So they're always up for an adventure.
Exactly. Always exploring, checking things out, keeping their owners entertained.
I love that. Seems like they bring a lot of, like, joy and fun to their homes. What about their, like, affectionate side, though? You said they love to cuddle. So how would you describe, like, the bond they form with their owners?
They are super affectionate cats. They love to cuddle up with their people, rub against them, follow them around. A lot of people say they're like dog-like in how devoted they are.
You mentioned that before, but, like, I need more details than just dog-like.
Yeah.
What are some examples of, like, how they're dog-like? What do they actually
Right.
do?
Okay, so for example, they're known for like greeting their owners at the door when they come home, just like a dog would. And they love to play fetch, and some of them even like going for walks on a leash.
Wait, hold on. Cats stop walking on a leash. That's not something you see every day.
I know, right? It's not super common for cats, but American curls, they seem to take to it pretty well. I think it's because they're so playful and curious, they're open to trying new things.
Okay, so we've got this, like, playful, affectionate, dog-like cat who can learn tricks and maybe even go for walks on a leash. It's like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
But what about, like, how much they meow and stuff? Are they big talkers or are they more on the quiet side?
Actually, they're not super vocal. They tend to communicate more, with body language, like head bunting and rubbing against you.
So you're not going to have them, like, constantly meowing at you for food or attention.
Probably not. They're definitely more subtle in how they communicate,
Yeah.
but they're also really good at, letting you know what they want when they want something.
Oh, I bet. So we've covered, like, their playful side, their affection, their dog-like qualities, even the fact that they're not too loud.
Yeah.
What about, like, how they are with other animals, especially other cats? Are they usually friendly and accepting of other felines?
Yeah, they get along well with other cats for the most part, especially if you introduce them properly.
So no worries about, like, territorial fights or anything.
Usually not, no. Of course, every cat is different. There are always exceptions. But generally speaking, American curls are pretty chill and social.
Okay, that's good to know, especially for anyone who's, like, thinking about getting an American curl but already has a cat at home. But what about dogs? We talked about how they're kind of dog-like in some ways, but does that mean they actually enjoy being around dogs?
Yeah, a lot of times they do, especially if they've like grown up with dogs or if they're introduced to them slowly.
So if you got a dog that's already, you know, good with cats, they shouldn't be a problem to have an American curl too.
Nope, not usually. They tend to be pretty adaptable, so they can do well in like multi-pet homes.
That's awesome. Good news for people who love animals and,
Right.
want a cat that can fit into a busy home with other pets. But what about kids? How are American curls around children?
They're usually pretty good with kids, especially if they're raised with them, but it's always a good idea to supervise, just to be safe.
Right, just to make sure everyone's, like, respecting each other's boundaries.
Exactly. And it's important to, teach kids how to be gentle with cats, especially with those delicate ears.
Okay, so we've talked about, like, how they are with other pets and with kids. But let's switch gears a bit and talk about, like, where they live. We said they're adaptable, but are there any specific things that American curls need in their home to, like, really thrive?
Well, they are active cats, so they need, space to move around, run, jump, play, all that.
So, like, a tiny apartment might not be the best fit.
It can work, but you'd want to make sure they've got plenty of, like, vertical space. Cat trees, shelves, things like that.
Right, to give them that climbing opportunity like they'd have in nature.
Exactly. They love to be up high, so they can see everything that's going on.
I can just picture them, like, perched on top of a bookshelf, ears perked up, watching the world go by. But what about toys? Are there any specific types of toys that American curls really love?
Honestly, they're pretty much up for anything. Things that move like feather wands or laser pointers, those are always a hit. And they like those puzzle toys too, the ones that make them think a little.
So it's all about, like, keeping them entertained and engaged.
Yep, pretty much. If they get bored, they can get destructive, so it's important to give them outlets for all that energy and curiosity.
That's true for any cat, but it sounds like it's extra important for American curls given how playful they are. But okay, let's talk about something I'm sure is on a lot of people's minds. Are American curls hypoallergenic?
So no cat is truly hypoallergenic, unfortunately. All cats produce allergens, mainly in their saliva and skin.
So even the ones with short hair or that don't shed much, they can still trigger allergies.
Yeah, that's right. But some people, if their allergies aren't too severe, they find that they don't react as badly to certain breeds. And the American curl is like sometimes mentioned as one that's, easier on people with allergies.
Is that because they have like a single coat, no undercoat, so they don't shed as much?
Exactly. But, everyone's different. So if you do have allergies, it's always a good idea to spend some time with an American curl before you commit to getting one.
Yeah, good point. Better to be safe than sorry when it comes to allergies. Well, okay, I think we've covered a ton in this segment. Grooming, health, their history, those crazy ears. We even talked about their personality, how they are with other animals, and what kind of environment they need to thrive.
It is pretty amazing how much there is to learn about them.
It really is. And guess what? We're not even done yet. There's still more to come. We'll be right back with some, fun facts and frequently asked questions about American curls. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive on American curl cats.
I gotta say, I'm seriously impressed with this breed now. Like, way more than I thought I would be. They just seem like such amazing cats.
I know, right? There's something about them, like they just suck you in. And it's not even just the ears, those definitely help. It's their personality, how smart they are, how they can adapt to pretty much anything. Exactly. It's like they were made to be the perfect pet or something. Okay, so for this last part, let's have some fun. Let's get into some fun facts about American curls and maybe answer some common questions people have about them. I bet there are still some things that'll surprise us, even after all this.
Okay, how about this? Even some real cat experts might not know this one, but did you know that the American curl is the only breed that the CFA recognizes in both the long hair and the short hair categories?
Whoa, really? So it doesn't matter if you like them fluffy or, with short fur. There's an American curl out there for everyone. I'm telling you, it's like these cats were custom made.
And here's another fun fact. Remember how we were talking about those CFA standards for the cats that compete in shows? Well, one of the, I guess, unique things about judging American curls is that the ears are the most important thing. For other breeds, it's usually about their overall shape, their build, their fur, all of that. But with American curls, it all comes down to those ears.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, the ears are what really make them, stand out. But why is it so important that the ears curl back at those specific angles? You said that ears that curl too much or not enough, that can be bad for the cat. But is it more than that? Is there something about that 90 to 180 degree range that's just more visually appealing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's partly about balance and proportion. If the ears curl back way too much, it can look kind of weird, almost unnatural. And if they don't curl enough, well, they might get kind of hidden in the cat's fur, especially if it's a long-haired one. So the perfect curl, it's noticeable and it makes the cat look even cuter, but it doesn't look, too over the top or out of place.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where the curl adds to how they look instead of taking away from it.
Gotcha. Okay, so here's a question that I bet a lot of people are wondering. If they're thinking about getting an American curl, how much do these cats usually cost? Well, it depends on a lot of things, the breeder, the cat's family history, where you live, all that stuff. But usually you're probably looking at somewhere between $1,000 to $2,000 for a kitten from a good breeder.
Yeah, that's a pretty big chunk of change. But you got to remember, you're not just buying a pet. You're bringing home a friend, someone who's going to be part of your life for, a long time. And good breeders, they put a lot of work into making sure those kittens are healthy and well-adjusted and ready for their forever homes.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Reputable breeders, they really care about their cats. And they want to make sure they're going to, a good, loving home.
Okay, so let's say you've decided, yep, I want an American curl.
Mm-hmm.
What are some tips for, finding a good breeder?
The biggest thing is do your research. Don't just go with the first breeder you find online or at a pet store. Look for breeders who are members of, reputable cat associations like the CFA or TICA.
All right, those organizations have standards for how breeders should operate, which helps to make sure the cats are treated well and that the breeders are focusing on, health and personality, not just making money.
Exactly. A good breeder will be totally happy to answer your questions, give you health records for the kitten's parents, even let you visit their cattery to see how the kittens are being raised.
So being open and willing to answer questions, that's a good sign. What about, like, red flags? What are some signs that a breeder might not be, so great?
Well, watch out for breeders who, like, avoid your questions or who pressure you or who just seem like way more interested in getting your money than in finding the right home for their kittens. And stay away from breeders who are selling kittens for, like, ridiculously low prices. That usually means they're cutting corners somewhere, whether it's the care they're giving or, even with the kitten's genetics.
So do your research and trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Okay, let's talk about personality again. We've covered a lot already, but are there any other personality traits that, like, really stand out in American Curls?
One thing that surprises people is how dog-like they can be. They're super loyal to their owners, and they'll often do things that you'd usually think of as, like, dog behaviors.
You keep saying that, dog-like.
Yeah.
I'm starting to imagine an American Curl playing fetch in the park. Are they really that dog-like?
Sometimes, yeah. They'll often greet you at the door, wag their tails when they're happy, and like I said before, some even enjoy going for walks on a leash.
Okay, cat that walks on a leash is officially going on my list of reasons why American Curls are awesome. Anything else?
They're also really smart and curious, and they need things to keep their minds busy. They love to explore and figure things out.
So it's not just about playtime, it's about challenging them mentally, too. What are some good ways to do that?
You can give them interactive toys, puzzle feeders, even teach them tricks. And honestly, just spending time with them, talking to them, that makes a big difference too. They love attention and they love being involved in whatever you're doing.
So it's not just about giving them stuff, it's about making them feel like part of the family. I love that. Okay, last question about those ears, I promise. We know they're delicate and need to be cleaned regularly, but is there anything else owners should keep in mind?
Just be super gentle with their ears and avoid anything like rough housing that could hurt them. And if you see anything weird like redness, swelling, any discharge or a bad smell coming from their ears, call your vet right away. Could be an infection.
Good advice. Always better to be safe than sorry, especially with those special ears. Okay, I think we've pretty much covered it all. Everything you need to know about American Curl Cats. From those awesome ears to their playful personalities and how much they love their people, they really are a one-of-a-kind breed.
I agree. And for anyone who's like thinking about getting a new cat, the American Curl is definitely worth checking out.
Totally agree. They seem like such fantastic companions. But before we go, I want to leave everyone with one last thought. We talked a lot about how those curled ears, they were just a random fluke, right? A mutation that led to this whole amazing breed. But it makes you think, like, what if those two kittens hadn't shown up on that porch in California all those years ago? Would we even know about American Curl Cats today?
That's a really interesting question. It makes you think about how, like, random events and chance encounters can really shape the world, huh?
It does, and it makes me appreciate American Curls even more. Well, that's all for our deep dive into the fascinating world of American Curl Cats. We hope you enjoyed it.
It was great being here.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.